Printed out. I left them on the kitchen table. That's okay. I read them.
Did you lose any of last night's minutes? You did.
Yeah,
You lost. Do you need my book? Do you need anything?
she's like, I need a lot.
Okay. I have it all.
I just need the
budget
book
stuff?
funded.
Yep.
I got the beginning, the end, it's the middle, I'm not looking at it.
So like every department, all those you need. Okay. Yeah, I got my book upstairs. You better get it before I lose it up there. It gets lost in that black hole. All right, it looks like we have a quorum. So we can jump right in. Oh. I don't know. Yeah, we ended up, I guess maybe we thought this meeting was going to last longer than it.
I know, because the other ones.
Yeah, not until 6:30. All right, so let me call this regular meeting. Are we recording? We're okay? Okay, good. All right, so let me call this regular meeting of the Board of Finance to order. For the record, today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. And we have Board of Finance members attending both in person and remotely. For the record, attending in person in the auditorium, I have Mrs. Iannacido, Mrs. Pesky, Mrs. Straub, Mr. Wright, and attending via Zoom, I see is Mr. Bayes. Before we begin the agenda, could we kindly stand and pledge the flag? These wheels on these don't move very well today. I feel like
Yours is really
bad
bad.
grocery
She's made
cart
me
with a
sit
bad
there.
wheel. Okay, let's jump in. Item number 1 on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public for public comment.
So move.
Thank you, Mrs. Straub, seconded by Mr. Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a member of the public. Anything to add? Or are you just waiting for the 6:30 meeting? Okay. There being no other public present, we'll jump into item number 2. I'll entertain a motion for 2A to accept the regular meeting minutes from April 15th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Pesky
Second.
and Mrs. Iannacido. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention for the record would be Mr. Wright. Entertaining a motion for item 2B to accept the special joint meeting minutes from April 29th, 2025.
So move.
Thank you, Mrs. Straub, seconded by Mr. Wright. Questions or comments on these minutes? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Abstain.
For the record, an abstention is Mrs. Iannacido. 2C, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special meeting minutes from April 29th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Straub.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Pesky. Questions or comments on these minutes? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And an abstention for Mrs. Iannacido. Item 2D, I'll entertain a motion to accept this public hearing minutes from April 29th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Pesky.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wright, although I did hear Mr. Bayes also. Questions or comments on these minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention. Thank you. And the final batch in this group, 2E, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special joint meeting minutes from May 12th, 2025.
Move.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pesky. Question. That was Ms. Iannacido. Sorry. Thank you. Questions or comments on these minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, good. We're moving into item 3. I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget transfer request for FY 24-25 as further described in the Manager of Budget's letter dated May 13th, 2025. This has been approved by the City Council last night. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bayes, and second by Mr. Wright. And the floor is open for questions.
Just assuming these are the standard transfers for the budgetary items, correct?
Yes, the first one is the budgeted transfer for the bonds, and then the other one is for the prepays for the HSA contributions.
Any other questions? Great, okay. I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, I'll entertain a motion to accept the performance reports for the city for the current fiscal year through April 30th, 2025.
So move.
Thank you, Ms. Iacino.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pesky. Questions or comments?
Just a general question. I'm laughing because of a comment that was made earlier. I assume on some of the line items that we do encumbrances, if we already know that something is either in ordered already, or there's invoices that you know you're going to receive before the end of the year. And I think I just wanted to express the reason I asked this is not because I don't understand what an encumbrance is. The reason I ask it is because there may be people watching who don't understand, and therefore that's why I asked the question. Obviously, if there's something we've already been obligated to, meaning through a purchase order, everything, or if there's our invoices in the future, such as health insurance, that we already know what the invoices are going to be, that if we put them in the encumbrance column, it gives us a better year-to-date picture earlier in the year instead of waiting till June. So that's the only reason I ask about the encumbrances, is because of that reason. So the more we know up front and the more we can record ahead of time gives the accounting department and the comptroller a better idea, and it gives us, the Board of Finance, a better idea as to where we're going to fall 2 months from now instead of being surprised. So I just didn't know if there was anything notable in there that you have going on.
No, you're spot on. All of the encumbrances are generated from a purchase order. So we know that they're expenses that we're going to incur. They just haven't been paid out yet.
Yeah, and I greatly appreciate asking those questions. I was doing the same thing last night, recognizing people from the public, if they're not watching us live, they certainly are accessing this by, video. So those are important questions to ask so the public can hear those exact answers. So any other questions with regard to the city's performance reports? We're getting down to our last 6 weeks. So when I'm looking at these, I know Erica and Olivia and I have been really focused particularly on the revenue for obvious reasons. We've lost the access to the $2.1 million that we budgeted for in anticipation of receiving premium cost share. So even as recently as 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're trying to think of, what is this revenue going to look like at year end? And when our audit is done, what are those asterisks and explanations going to be? So.
If I may add also, we do also send out, the purchasing agent sends out a memo stopping all purchases as of June 6th. So nothing else will show up unless it's an emergency.
Is there anything in this revenue coming from the state? Because I don't know when payments get made for certain things. Is there anything coming from the state that we already know that we're not getting what we budgeted for?
That we did not budget for? No, we don't know that. There are still some things that we have budgeted for that the state will send payment usually by mid-June.
And then if there's anything that is still coming in after year end, up to the 60 days, we can record that as still revenue. Of course, if it comes in after that, then we can't. we have to put as a deferred revenue, but just.
And nothing that they're doing now on the state level is affecting this year's payments, correct? That will
Correct.
all be in the 2-year budget after that. Okay.
All right. If there are no other questions on budget performance for the city, I'm going to go ahead and call this motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 5 is I will entertain a motion to accept the Board of Education budget performance reports. Again, this is through April 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Trot. And the floor is open for questions, although I don't know how much I can answer the questions. We'll do our best. Good, no questions. That's much easier for me. I think the only thing that I would draw to the board's attention is in their budget analysis report. As you can see, the employee benefit line item is still reflecting a $4.7 million balance. I don't want to call that a surplus yet. And I just draw that to your attention. That is largely the result of the health insurance and the way that the health insurance was budgeted. But in the joint meeting with the city council, we will be going over what will happen with surpluses at year end for the Board of Education in light of those legislative changes that happened last year. So other than that, if there are no questions from the board on the BOE performance reports, I'm going to call that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 6. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Mrs. Traub, second by Mrs. Iacito. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything to add this evening, Mr. Treasurer? Okay.
You make something.
No, really. We have plenty of time to kill. You could make something up. You could tap dance for us. Yeah, I know. Anything from the city clerk's office? All right, thank you. To our comptroller.
The only thing I was gonna say, was we are starting very preliminary, but, starting to work a little bit on the audit. We do have our planning meeting, already established, and we're already starting to do some testing and everything to kind of jumpstart with that. Some of our, OPEB and pension testing we can do based on the valuations. So that's just something that, I missed the budget season. And shout out to Erica for all the budget work she's been doing, because it's been a lot, so.
That was like passing the torch. Anything from the deputy
You-
comptroller? Yes.
I don't have anything tonight, Mayor. I think everybody here knows where we are.
Yeah. So, so I'm just going to add or and piggyback off of what Olivia was just saying. For several years, I'm going to say for the past 5 years, it has been such a struggle in our finance department because we were always short-staffed in that department, always. And then we went through a period of time we were incredibly short-staffed. Having a full staff there and hearing my comptroller say, we're already starting to do those preliminary kickoff audit meetings is just such a relief for me. That couldn't happen if we had not established this deputy comptroller / budget manager position. It has been seamless being able to work with Erica in budget development. Olivia obviously is keeping her finger on the pulse. Every meeting we have, she's there. She's asking those questions. So it just is very reassuring, I think, as we think about finalizing our budget and getting right into audit, that we've got a real good team here. So I probably could have saved that for comments from the mayor and members, but let me move right into that. I'll entertain a motion to consider business by the mayor and members.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Iacito.
Second.
And second by Mrs. Traub. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I see Mr. Anderson, for the record, Mr. Anderson is, he did join us a few agenda items ago. I'll start with the Zoom room. Anything from Mr. Bayes? Anything this evening?
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Anderson, anything to add?
Yeah, boys.
We
You did?
can't hear you. You're not on mute.
How about now?
There he is.
There he is.
Zoom does not like this headphone audio. No, just to echo what you were saying. I mean, appreciate all the work that goes into that budget. It's going to be a while to go. The only personal thing I'd like to do is, if I could, say that Brooke is doing great and introduce y'all to baby Vera.
Oh,
Ah.
congratulations.
Came on just
Yes.
yesterday morning, 8 pounds 12.
Oh my God.
Congratulations.
That's awesome. Are you at the hospital?
You're at the hospital, right?
Go
The
for it.
Torrington Board of Finance doesn't take days off. Come on.
That is so great. Thank you
Oh.
for taking time out to share her with us.
Give me
And
chills.
Brooke is doing great. Thank you all for your work. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
All righty. All right, Mr. Wright, do you have anything to add this evening? Tap that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
No,
Okay. Mrs. Traub.
no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Pesky
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
and Ms. Anacito.
Nope,
No.
can't follow up with that. one.
Yeah. So I think that the only thing that I will add is, as you know, as I'm running down the list of all the special meetings that we had on April 29th, one of those being the review of the Internal Service Fund, where we stood in relation to what the Board of Education's expenses were against their share of the reserves. I know that Olivia has reached out on at least 2 occasions to ask the Board of Education to provide us with their spreadsheet because they felt that they had a very different number than we had. We have been informed that the matter has been turned over to their legal counsel. And I did notice on May 7th, the Board of Education did have an agenda item with a proposed executive session to discuss a potential forensic audit of the Internal Service Fund. So if you're not paying attention to those agenda items, it did get tabled that evening because they did not have a quorum. But yeah, I think you could read the tea leaves on where that will be going. So we will keep you all posted.
And
Yeah.
And I would just say that, I think he's still here, kind of. Chris Anderson has made mention of this before. I think we have to be very careful when we talk about the word forensic audit. There's a difference between auditing payables or auditing, certain things and then saying forensic, because forensic is basically more of a fraudulent or mismanagement type of tone. I'm sorry to hear that word is being used. I have been involved in the Internal Service Fund for a very long
Decades.
time. When I was back on the Board of Education, when I was back on the Board of Finance back then, that Internal Service Fund, when Alice was here, we had already just gone through it. So there might be different ways to calculate things, which there could be a disagreement on that as
Right.
how things were calculated, how things were owed, that type of thing, to suggest that there has been some type of mismanagement or fraud in the way those funds are transferred in and out. Is disturbing. And also, I think Councilman Cavanero had mentioned in the past that we're spending a lot of money on legal for this type of issue when we keep talking about everybody's tight budgets. And so it's concerning that all of this stuff is going on to a legal matter and that we can't seem to just sit down in a room as, by the way, a department of the city of Torrington. It's not a separate organization. They're a department of the city of Torrington, and sat down in a room and literally just hashed it out. What do you have? What do we have? And go through it and see where there's discrepancies in it. So I hope we come to some type of agreement soon,
Yes,
especially with another year starting in a month and a half.
exactly. 6 weeks.
So is there any date as to when they will get back to us?
No, so as I said, I did tune into that meeting I actually watched the tape.
Okay.
And as I said, and unfortunately, it was a pretty packed meeting that evening, and they ended up without a quorum when that item was called. So it was tabled. I have not seen it show up on another agenda yet. But certainly when it does.
I
we'll-
was I did listen in on last week's meeting and nothing was said on that.
Right.
I guess my question is for this, and I could be way out. Is this something that needs to come to a conclusion before we finalize all the budgets? Is it anything that could hold that up, could change it, could?
No. Yes. I would say no, because it's the internal service fund, which is a non-lapsing fund outside of the
already-
operating budget.
Right, okay.
I would say that that is something that we're less concerned about fiscal year end, what goes from one year to the next.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, and I agree with Mrs. Traub, you know, at what point do we say, are we throwing good money after, well, no, I can't even say that. It's good money, you know, and it's, you know, it's a well-run program with a lot of oversight, you know, through this board, through the accounting practices and through the audit practices. So I'm not sure what, you know, what the hunt would be for, but if that's the decision that board makes, you know, we'll obviously work with them, provide them all the information that they need. And hopefully it would be wrapped up pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I won't know until I see another agenda.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, then there being no further business before this board at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Anastasio, and second by Ms. Pesky. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? We're adjourned until 6:30. Everyone will be back at 6:30, right?
Yes, ma'am. God willing.
Thank you.
you.